ever Sunday. 1, 2, you know what to do. Hail to the victors, valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the leaders of hail. Hail to the victors, valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. Go Blue!
They give it to Haskins. He's around right end. There's room. He's at the 10. Breaks it at the 5. Fights his way into the end zone. Yes! Touchdown, Michigan!
You guys, the 21 team, did something for everybody. Every man, woman, and child in the state of Michigan, you have given them a tremendous gift. Congratulations. Let's sing the victors as loud and proud as we've ever sung. 1, 2, you know what to do.
Let's go crypto investing, and we're going to do a Michigan topic here as the football season and college football is off and running, and Scott Frost, my man, is already in the doghouse, and they should leave him in Dublin because that performance today was absolutely atrocious. And how are you going to call an onside kick after
put it on my shoulders and run like that is going to give him even more of the workload.
Oh, and an onside kick, Northwestern.
An onside kick after you score 14 straight points and the latter coming after a turnover, right? And you take an 11-point lead early in the third quarter, and you're going to come out and try an onside kick. You're not at Central Florida anymore, Scott Frost. You're supposedly at a major university, Nebraska Cornhuskers, and you've embarrassed yourself on national television once again, and for that, I thank you. But on to the Michigan Wolverines. That's right, the defending Big Ten champions, Michigan Wolverines, are going to defend their Big Ten title and maybe make another run at the playoff like they did last year after taking out Iowa and Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship game for their first outright Big Ten title since 2003. They're going to come out and do this back and forth nonsense, which I don't like. I don't like doing this. And yes, this does remind me of the Tom Brady and Drew Henson shenanigans that Lloyd Carr blew that national championship team by his coaching decisions back then. And he blew that by mismanaging that when he should have just had Tom Brady be the quarterback from the very beginning. They had all kinds of offensive weapons on that team. They had a pretty good defense, but dynamic offense, great running backs, sort of like this year. Where you have a great offense. You got Roman Wilson at wideout. You got Donovan Edwards, could be the most dynamic, explosive, exciting running back in college football if you utilize him right out of the backfield because he's a natural athlete and he's a great catching back out of the backfield. That makes him very hard to defend, right? You got Ronnie Bell coming back at wide receiver. You got Andrew Anthony, an emerging all big. I think Andrew Anthony, if you have a quarterback that can unleash the ball down the field, he'll be an all Big Ten player this year, right? As a sophomore. He had a great year last year in his limited action. He's a big, fast, tall wide receiver. He reminds me a lot of a David Terrell or Braylon Edwards with the speed and the height that he can go up and get the ball, right? And make defensive backs. He can just blow them right by. He did it a few times last year in his limited touches. And they could have a dynamic offense like they had back in '99, but the Lloyd Carr flubbed it up by making bad coaching decisions. But the coaching carousel, where he would play Brady the first, Henson the second, and then whoever in the third and fourth quarter was playing better, and it got him into trouble. It cost him at Michigan State, and then it cost him one more game. I forget the game they lost offhand. But it blew that game, and then they won out and had 2 losses, and I think they finished the season at like the 5th or 6th ranked in the country, but it cost them a national championship 2 years removed from their first national championship in 50 years, right? And now today with Jim Harbaugh announcing that senior quarterback Cade McNamara will start the season opener against Colorado State, while sophomore J.J. McCarthy will start week 2 against Hawaii, right? I would prefer this year, yes, Cade McNamara, you beat Ohio State, you won the Big Ten title, but you had a great defense last year, 2 top 10 picks on defensive line in the NFL draft, and a stud defense all around. Your defense isn't going to be as good this year, and you have explosive players on the offense. And this year we need a quarterback that's a playmaker. Michigan hasn't had a true playmaking quarterback since I would say Chad Henne, because Chad Henne had a cannon. Even though he never beat Ohio State, Chad Henne was a true playmaker at the quarterback position where he was a weapon. He could launch the ball and put it anywhere he wanted to on the field, and that's why he came within one game of playing for a national championship, but they lost in a shootout to the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus in 2006, right? But J.J. McCarthy he has all the tools. He has cannon, just like Chad Henne, but he can run. He's mobile. He's elusive. He has a very high upside, and I think we need a playmaker at quarterback this year for the University of Michigan to win the Big Ten championship again, right, and try to make the college football playoff. Both quarterbacks, and this is from Jim Harbaugh, it appears to be, both quarterbacks have played great, done everything they could, and in every way to win the starting quarterback job. Coming out of camp, I just feel like we have two quarterbacks, Cade and JJ, that feel very confident that we can win a championship with either of these two behind center. It's a great thing for our team, but there's only one ball and only one quarterback can be out there at one time. So we're not ready to say who that starting quarterback is, but the decision that we have made is Cade will start the opener against Colorado and JJ will start the second ball game against Hawaii, right? And that's from Jim Harbaugh. And with the schedule they have, the schedule is not the schedule, the first 5 games are cupcakes. They have really no chance of losing at any of them. They have this week coming up, they have the numbskulls. Who are they playing this week? We have this week Colorado State, and then next week Hawaii. And then they have another cupcake after that before they start 2 easy Big Ten games to open up the Big Ten Conference. And they're all at home. And I don't see any way they lose or even are challenged in any of these games, right? It's just going to be a cupcake. They'll be able to pound the ball with 2 great backs and Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, right? Blake Corum's going to be your workhorse. Donovan Edwards is going to be out there carrying some of the ball, but getting a lot of catches and lining up in the slot a lot, I believe. Or when you have a 2-back set, he'll be either blocking or flanking out for the pass because he is almost unguardable by a linebacker or even a safety when they got to move a safety up on him with the speed and how athletic he is, right? It's a great thing, blah, blah, blah. McNamara, 14 games for the Wolverines last season, 2,576 yards and only 15 touchdowns with 6 interceptions, while McCarthy, 506 yards in limited action, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 124 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns in 11 games as a backup, right? Blah, blah, blah. So you see what I'm talking about? Like, Michigan fans out there, if you happen to see this, even though this is on a crypto station, are you feeling the same way I am? I think we need to just have J.J. McCarthy be the quarterback. I mean, look at the wide receivers you got. This is last year's team and last year's numbers, but you got Donovan Edwards coming back, right? And look at what he did out of the back, catching the ball in very limited games last year. Oh, that was him passing. He threw a long touchdown in the Big Ten championship game. But you got Blake Corum coming back, a 1,000-yard back, 11 touchdowns, right? You got Donovan Edwards, 174 yards in limited action, 5 yards to carry, 3 touchdowns coming back, right? J.J. McCarthy had 124 yards running out of the quarterback position, right? So you have 2 great backs in the backfield. You got Cornelius Johnson. He only had 600 yards and 3 TDs last year. The kind of wide receiver he is, he should have had nearly 1,000 yards and 8 or 9 or 10 touchdowns. Eric All, tight end, he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the country again. And he'll probably have a couple hundred more yards than this year and a couple more touchdowns. You got Roman Wilson, Andrew Anthony, right, as wide receivers or dynamic wide receivers. I think this is, besides Ohio State, the best wide receiving core in the Big Ten, where you have Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, Mike Sanders still. They switched defensive back, which I don't understand. He was a great wide receiver. Andrew Anthony with Cornelius Johnson. And then you have Ronnie Bell coming back as a senior, along with Eric All, who will be back this year. Coming out at the tight end position, that's a dynamite with Donovan Edwards on the backfield. That's a dynamite wide receiving core right there, where I think Andrew Anthony is going to be borderline if they throw the ball enough and they have a good enough offense where they're going to their receivers like they need to, he'll be an all Big Ten first team this year if he gets the balls. If he ends up with, how many games do they play? 12. If he ends up with 65 catches this year, right? He only had 12 last year. If he ends up with 65 catches, he'll have 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. Mark that down, Michigan fans. If they throw the ball to Andrel Anthony, I mean, that's only, how many times a game is that? That's not even that much. If we bring out the old calculator, what do we got here? 60 catches divided by 12. It's 5 catches a game. This guy will be an all Big Ten player because he's explosive, right? And he's a dynamite wide receiver. But we're going to be going through this carousel here with the quarterback position, and I'm happy that he's given JJ at least a chance to win the starting job, even though Cade's been voted a captain. I think they need to just go with JJ McCarthy and roll the table. As I'm looking at the season outlook here, right, trying to figure out if this team's going to win another Big Ten championship, and I think they can, and I think they should if they go with the right quarterback, because if we look at their schedule this year, their schedule is just so easy. Let's look at the schedule here in the schedule breakdown, right? Not basketball. We're going to football. We're going to Michigan. Clicking Michigan. We're clicking schedule. I mean, look at the schedule. Colorado State, win. Hawaii, blowout. UConn, that's their third game. Very easy. They're going to blow them out. UConn shouldn't even have a football team. Then you got Maryland at home to open up the Big Ten season, win. Then if you're going through this coaching carousel, and here's my fear here, well, not fear, but because they can lose one game, and then as long as they win that last game, they go to the Big Ten championship game, is you have this carousel back and forth between quarterbacks, and then you get down to Iowa, and you go into Kinnick Stadium in Iowa. I'm sure they'll play us at night because they always do. In Michigan, it's a house of horrors when they go to Iowa. No matter how good the team is, they were undefeated and 16 lost, right? Late in the season, they were like 10-0, ranked number 2 or 3. And throughout their history, there's been many of great Michigan teams go out to Iowa and get the shit kicked out of them, or just lose in a close, tough game like 16. But with back and forth quarterback play and whatnot, I think you'll go to Iowa and lose if you're not solidifying your quarterback at the end of week 2. If you're still flip-flopping in Connecticut and Maryland, you're going to go into Iowa, and Iowa's going to upset you, right? And then you're going to have to run the table, which you should, because Indiana, you should blow them out at Indiana. You should beat Penn State, blow them out at home. Michigan State at home, you should beat them, right? On the road at Rutgers, you'll have no problem with them. Nebraska at home, my boy Scott Frost, you'll have no problem with them. Illinois, and the fat man, and my fat man that's back there, I forget his name. I just call him the fat man all the time because he's huge. He's the former Wisconsin coach, went to Arkansas and flubbed it up down there. He ends up back taking over for Lovie Smith in Illinois. You're going to blow them out, and then you're going to have a showdown. When I look at this schedule, Michigan's going to be 10-1 going to Columbus, playing for it all again, right? But I would prefer that loss not to be at Iowa. I mean, if you're going to lose one, lose it to the cross rival or the cross opponent from the Big Ten West, because it doesn't affect anything as long as you win out. You're in the Big Ten championship game. If you drop it to State, you got to hope State loses 2 Big Ten games to not fuck up it up, to not mess it all up. But I believe Michigan State's going to have probably 3 losses this year. And when I look at this schedule, Michigan, you should be 10-1, going to Columbus, playing your best football. But you can't have the quarterback carousel, and I think you need to go with the playmaking quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, this year to defend that Big Ten title. We're going to give a weekly update and show preview. We're going to have another episode here for any of my Michigan fans that happen to find this through the YouTube sphere. We're going to have a pre-game breakdown, or a game week breakdown of the upcoming opponent and preview and what I think is going to happen. Like, subscribe to my new Michigan fans that end up finding this on this cryptocurrency channel. I say this with go blue, peace, and love to the defending Big Ten champions.